Hello everyone, this is Arrow, and welcome back to Sundown Muna Podfics. Today we'll be starting a new fic called Stray Cat by SkylarSkyHigh and Terox_X. Here's the summary. An unnamed vigilante appears in Eraserhead's patrol area. He is pretty damn short though. Is he even an adult? Well, Shouta has a history of adopting strays. What's one more? Chapter 1. Summary. Shouta meets a very interesting individual while on patrol. Shouta was sitting on a rooftop staring into the quiet night, maybe a bit too quiet for his taste, especially when he was patrolling. He needed something to keep him awake. He perked up when he heard a scream. Perfect. He jumped up and leapt over to the next building, heading into the direction as quickly as he could. He could pick up sounds of struggle as he got closer. He frowned down at the alleyway. It was too dark to make out anything. He dropped down and immediately canceled out quirks, ready for anything. Hey! He stared in shock when he might have not been ready for that. Two men laid knocked out on the ground with a small kid standing over them, metal pipe in hand. Shouta could only stare. He mumbled, not really understanding what was happening. What was the little kid doing outside, and how had he taken out those criminals? Were they criminals, or was the kid... These two were doing a drug deal, the kid explained with a displeased frown, and grabbed a packet on the ground. He showed it to the bro hero of the contents. Shouta blinked in confusion. Those really were drugs. Good job, kid, he praised. He wouldn't have noticed the drug deal. There had been no flashlight or no yelling. How had the kid noticed that then? How did you know about that? He asked slowly. I was just passing by, the kid shrugged. Plus, they weren't exactly being quiet about it. All right, Shouta mumbled. He reached out and patted the kid's head, not really knowing what else to do. The kid flinched, looking ready to bat his hand away with the metal pole. It made Shouta pause and draw his hand away. Okay, verbal praise then. You did well, but please leave this to the professionals from now on. Wouldn't want you to get hurt, he warned gently. What if I want to do this? The kid grinned at him, apparently already back to his smug attitude. What if the law doesn't apply to me? Shouta blinked. If you want to do this, you should get a hero's license, he explained. It would be much better for everyone involved. The kid shrugged again. Can't, he said simply, and started walking away. Shouta frowned. Why wouldn't... the kid was getting away. Be careful, he decided to call out instead of asking the many questions bouncing around in his head. The kid only waved before turning the corner. Shouta sighed. Somehow he felt like this wasn't the last time he'd see that kid. He would soon be proven right. Chapter 2. Summary. Shouta's instincts are yelling at him to watch out for that kid, so he does. He kept running into the kid. Always on his patrols, the kid was always butting in, sometimes directly by fighting with him or by feeding him information while keeping a safe distance. He had to admit the kid was skilled, but it was dangerous for him to be out playing vigilante. Still, who was this kid? How old was he? Where is his parents? He couldn't seem to figure out what the kid's quirk was. He didn't seem affected by his erasure at all. No indication of being startled or anything. Maybe the kid didn't have a quirk. It was incredibly rare in Japan, especially in the younger generations, but it still happened. The way they commented about the laws not applying to him would make a lot more sense. Quirkless couldn't be vigilantes since they had no quirk. The law didn't apply to them, and from what he'd gathered, the kid let his opponents attack first, thus pleading self-defense. The kid was a goddamn genius, but it worried him. The kid was still a kid. Every time he met the kid, he tried to get him to stop, but the kid really didn't plan to. He just snapped back with a sarcastic comment and ran away. It was frustrating. There wasn't much he could do for the kid. Even if he wanted to wrap him up in a blanket and teach him everything he knew, the kid had a lot of potential. He wanted to nurture that talent. The question of how remained the problem. The tiny vigilante always ran off. He was extremely wary around him despite his nonchalant attitude. He didn't know how to catch the vigilante. He reminded him of his scared kitten. He knew how to deal with scared kittens, though. Gaining their trust was the first step, plus keeping his distance. Let them come to him. Whenever they met accidentally, Shouta made sure to give the kid some space. The kid seemed to grow more comfortable around him. It was heartbreaking to see the kid so wary. There were good days and bad days. On good days, the kid seemed more inclined to move towards him and talk a bit. On the bad days, he just ran off immediately. But Shouta needed to be patient. He didn't run after the kid. It was a bunch of trial and error, but they managed. Soon Shouta started bringing packed food for the kid. He just threw it at the boy. The boy always caught it skillfully. At first he was skeptical and chucked it back, but eventually he gave up and started taking the food. Maybe he trusted him enough to eat a bit. Shouta hoped so. The first time the kid accepted the food was heartwarming to see. True to his cat analogy, the kid would approach him, acting casual and carefree, if not for his skittishness. Shouta was allowed to pat his head every now and then, but only 2 or 3 times at a time. Shouta examined a scarf made for children, testing whether it was soft and warm. He was at the mall, searching for clothes to give to the kid. It was slowly getting colder as winter approached. The kid needed some more protection than his thin clothing he was wearing. Maybe he should get a coat, too. He peered over at the coats, so many different sizes, which reminded him that he had no idea what the kid's size was. He only vaguely knew how tall the kid was from the few times he was able to get close enough. He could just guess. Maybe the kid wouldn't mind the clothes being a bit bigger. It would give him time to grow into them. He stared at the clothes silently. He wanted to see the kid grow up. It wasn't safe on the streets. The kid could just suddenly disappear and he would never know. He wanted to keep the kid safe. He really wanted to see the kid grow up. He couldn't help without the kid's consent, though. The only way he could help the kid now was to chuck things at him. Shouta was brought back to the present when Hisashi asked him something. "What?" he asked, not having listened at all. "Getting that for a stray kitten?" Hisashi asked again, a knowing grin on his face. Shouta rolled his eyes. "The stray kitten," he corrected, picking up a black scarf. Shouta chuckled. Yes, your favorite kitten," he teased. Shouta nodded, not really caring about the jibe. It was true after all. He examined the scarf before placing it in their basket. Hisashi chuckled. "What else does the kitty need?" "Probably a coat. It's been getting colder," Shouta replied as he headed off towards the coats. Hisashi hummed as he followed him. "Well, I hope the kid will like it." Shouta nodded. "I'll keep it a couple size bigger." Hisashi hummed. "You do that." Shouta looked at the many different coats thoughtfully. What else could he get? Some gloves? He didn't know the kid's size, though. If they were too big, they would be useless. Shouta hummed. "Coat, then." He needed to find a black or gray coat. Black should be better since the kid liked to come out at night. It would help hide the kid and make sure that he was safe during his vigilanteing. Was that even the right word? The kid wasn't technically a vigilante because of the lack of a quirk. Well, not thinking of him as a vigilante would be belittling his efforts. He called the kid a vigilante for now, and maybe one day he could call the kid a hero in the future. Alright everyone, that is the end of chapters 1 and 2 of Stray Cat. I hope you've all enjoyed. I really like these authors. They have a few super long fics that I want to do in the future, so I hope you've liked their work so far. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you all soon. Bye!